This has been a very powerful project, and as we come to a place where the work is not done, the work is still ever present, but as it's nearing the end, I'm thinking, wow, we did something, and we didn't know if we were going to be able to do anything. I just feel so proud, you know. I think I said it already, but this group is really special, and it will never happen again the way that it happened this year with this group of people. And I think I just feel really proud. And yeah, it was emotional though. I mean, and exciting. I mean, they kept saying to me, this feels so different. This feels so different. You know, we're performing with no one in the theater. I'm asking them to dance so big with no one watching except for the four of us. And they did it, you know? So I'm happy. You know, the curtain is closed and they took their final bows, and that was it. So watching them on stage was everything to me, because I didn't know if that would ever happen this year, and it was very emotional. I cried.
I feel complete. Like, my senior year has been complete. Like, even if I didn't get to do anything else, prom, graduation, or whatnot, I still wanted to dance at Fort Hays at least one more time, be on the stage with the lights at least one more time. That's all I was hoping for from the beginning of the school year.
And we can be so much more than who we are, so much more than who we are. We can, knee deep in while the world just falls apart. At the rise above it all, and we can, and we can be so much more than who we are, so much more than who we are. We can, knee deep in while the world just falls apart.
really happy I got to do something. I really thought, I'm like, there's no way that I could.
I'm mostly proud of myself for being able to like stick to something and like do good and like be around people who are also doing good.
Dance sometimes is just made to look effortless. Like, you're not meant to see the pain, you're meant to see the beauty of it. So that's something as dancers that we pride ourselves on, of making it look effortless as much as we can.
And we can be so much more than who we are, so much more than who we are. We can, and knee deep in while the world just falls apart. Have to rise above it all, and we can.
And this is the thing about dance, is it's you on the stage. Yes, you can play a character, but it's your body and your expressivity. It takes a heck of a lot of vulnerability.
Hello to our entire Columbus City Schools community. My name is Malin Damashi and I'm a student at Northland High School. Before we begin tonight's Board of Education business meeting, I invite you to check out these highlights and updates from across the district.
Greetings and welcome to this week's highlights from across the district. Many thanks to the Columbus Crew, MLS, and Stay in the Game initiative for the launch of the Stay in the Game room at Starling Pre-K 8. It's not just a room, it's a celebration of learning and resilience. Imagine a crew mural, comfy beanbags, and even a gaming system. This magic room is just the beginning. Stay tuned for the unveiling of 5 additional rooms across our district, 1 in each of our 6 regions. Let's keep the winning spirit alive, inspire on-time arrivals, and make education a thrilling adventure. Here's to staying in the game and cheering on our scholars. A big shout out to the Columbus Crew on their MLS Cup victory. On December 13th, Northland High School hosted Kevin Dakima, president of the National Council of Teachers of Math. Dakima discussed current math classroom needs, emphasizing the role of productive struggle. The session was tailored for elementary math leads and secondary math chairs, providing valuable insights into advancing math education. Many thanks to Kevin Dakima for contributing to the dialogue on enhancing math instruction in CCS. Step into the magic of giving. Just a Pair of Shoes and Morris Furniture recently brightened East Columbus Elementary School for the 2nd year, giving 50 fifth grade students new Nike shoes and 180 snug socks, celebrating Morris Furniture's 75 years of generosity. The event aimed to provide essential items and instill pride in the young recipients. Special guests, including Brutus Buckeye and East High School student athletes, joined founder Matthew Klein in personally distributing the gifts, creating a heartwarming celebration of community and compassion that will have a lasting impact on these students. Recently, our district celebrated success at the PBIS Awards Showcase, earning gold, silver, and bronze distinctions for 50 CCS schools. This recognition reflects the hard work of our school teams in creating a positive atmosphere for our students. Next month, CCS will be honored by the Ohio Leadership Advisory Council during a virtual conference event under the theme, Future Forward, Accelerating Leadership and Learning. This recognition underscores our dedication to the well-being and success of every student in our district. Congratulations to our PBIS rock stars. Let's continue shining and making CCS proud. A day filled with wonder and inspiration. The Wexner Center for the Arts became a creative hub for the sold-out Pathway Express event. Students and families explored exhibitions, performances, short film screenings, and educational programs immersing themselves in the world of contemporary art. Stay tuned for updates on future Pathway Express adventures, offering more opportunities to dive into the captivating art scene. The recent Columbus City Schools Transition Fair successfully guided students age 14 and older through the challenges of adulthood, providing vital support and resources. The event focused on educational and employment opportunities, particularly for those with IEPs or 504 plans. Families collaborated with educators in a supportive environment, making the fair a dynamic platform for students to explore academic paths, employment prospects, and crucial life skills. This underscores Columbus City Schools' dedication to their success. A huge success! On December 9th, our district's transportation team spread holiday cheer by filling a bus with new toys for the annual Stuff the Bus event. The mission was simple: bringing joy to young hearts during this festive season. Community members were encouraged to contribute new toys throughout the week. The bus was filled with the community's generosity, showcasing the spirit of giving as the CCS transportation team and community united for a brighter, more joyous holiday. A heartfelt thank you to our invaluable community partners for supporting CCS. Your commitment and collaboration have fostered a thriving educational environment, shaping the future and empowering students. We appreciate your generosity and look forward to continuing this impactful journey together. Cheers to a community that believes in the power of education. These have been your highlights from around the district for December 19th. Thank you so much for joining us.
Calling our December 19th meeting to order. Please call the roll.
President Dare,
Present.
Ms. Beckerly,
Present.
Mr. Brown,
I'm here.
Mr. Cole, Dr. Pierce,
Present.
Ms. Reyes, Vice President Vera.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. We have students from Marion Franklin High School who will be leading us in the pledge this evening. Students, please come forward.
Putting it on the screen. Oh, there you go. It's okay.
Just go right here. Just
Wherever you want.
Right there.
Right at the flag, right in front of you on
All in the same boat.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, students. Board members, on our agenda this evening, we have 11 people here to speak to us during public comments. We do not have any items under board matters, although we are going to say some goodbyes. So we have some things to give to outgoing board members. We have 3 items in the superintendent report, no report expected from our internal audit, no report from our treasurer's office. We, of course, have our consent agenda. We have no speakers at the end of the meeting, and we do not have an executive session this evening.
Motion to approve agenda as given.
There's been a motion. Second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any items need to be changed or added? Hearing none and without objection, the agenda has been adopted. We are going to go ahead and begin our public comment period. All speakers have 3 minutes to address the board. The podium is over here. In case it's not right in front, it's on this side. Our first speaker is Tracy Cottrell. Topic: Columbus Online Academy K-6. Board action requested: reduce the staff and keep the Columbus Online Academy K-6 open. Ms. Cottrell.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Chapman and others. I come to this body to ask that the decision to close Columbus Online Academy K-6 not be a final one. I ask that we realize, as an administrator in my former district said, there is no such thing as a throwaway kid. As a system, we have become too dependent on empirical data. Those numbers, that type of data, has been thrown our way for too long, that we are to believe that this is the only type of data out there. What we have left behind is that qualitative piece, where we learn the human element, the why, the human side of this numbers game. So what do our parents think about this closure? For the final destination of their travels last Thursday at our family night, here's what some of the parents said to me. This district needs to get up with the 21st century. I don't know what I'm going to do. My child was bullied. I don't like the other schools online. No one does the face-to-face the way you do here. I'm going to have to look at an online charter for my child. This is the human element, the numbers that we don't see. For at least a decade, school districts have been tasked with providing PD to teachers about social and emotional learning. As educators, we have learned about anxiety, triggers, relationship building, self-awareness, etc. We also have learned that environments are not suitable for some students. This is why Columbus Online Academy exists. This is a place where many students thrive, including students with disabilities, ESL, anxiety, various illnesses, and the ones who are bullied. By closing this school, we're letting down our parents and our students. This is also opening the doors to charters who will gladly accept this invitation. We will not only lose K-6 students, we will lose their older siblings as well. If our North Star in Portrait of a Graduate is hopes, dreams, and aspirations we have for every student, I implore this body to reconsider this closure. There are measures that can be taken to keep Columbus Online Academy open. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jennifer Harvey. Topic, restructuring of the Columbus Online Academy K-6. Board action requested, rethink decision about Columbus Online Academy K-6. Ms. Harvey.
Thank you, Superintendent Chapman, Board President Adair, and board members for this opportunity to share. My name is Jennifer Harvey. I am a Columbus resident. I am the mother and grandmother of CCS graduates. I am a Marine Corps veteran as well as a 27-year veteran educator of Columbus City Schools. I've spent almost 3 decades in this district. This is my first visit to a board meeting. As an 8th grade teacher at Columbus Online Academy, I felt compelled to bring the spirit of my students' voices with me tonight, because students in our district deserve appropriate and acceptable options. It's choice. As Board Member Cole can attest, I will fight and defend the rights and opportunities for all of my students and for all students in Columbus City Schools. With that said, I present an open letter from our CEA family that represents over 600 members and 9,200 years of service to Columbus City Schools. We, the undersigned, proud members of the Columbus Education Association, write to you with our collective demand that you retain and grow the Columbus Online Academy Elementary program, which you recently announced will be closing after the 2023-2024 school year. If this decision is not immediately reversed, hundreds of Columbus families who have chosen online education because it best meets the needs of their children will exit our district. They will almost certainly enroll in an unacceptable, lower quality online charter school that includes some of our most vulnerable students who are unhoused or facing the threat of domestic violence, for whom brick and mortar education is simply not an option. Many of us have educated Columbus students for decades and have dedicated our entire careers to Columbus City Schools. We have watched previous school boards and superintendents simply stand by as enrollment that once topped 100,000 students plummet to under 50,000 today. We cannot and will not accept leadership that is simply content to manage decline. We will not allow you to quietly abandon our students and their communities, whether physical or virtual. We will fight with every resource at our disposal to ensure that Columbus City Schools is a growing, thriving district. We fully understand the financial impact of the loss of ESSER funds, mitigated by levy passage this November in a state budget which continues the phase-in for the Fair School Funding Plan. Before the Thanksgiving holiday, Columbus Online Academy CA members presented Dr. Chapman a plan to save money, continue improving educational outcomes, and increase enrollment. As elected and appointed leaders, you owe it to these educators and, most importantly, their students to reverse this decision and invest in Columbus Online Academy for the future of our district and our city. We look forward to your prompt attention to this matter. Let's engage in a conversation so that the true process of due diligence is engaged in with all stakeholders in order to grow our district. And who can I give these letters to?
We'll get them.
Right here.
Thank you so much, Ms. Harvey. I'm going to go out of order with speakers to keep in line with the topic. I will now call President John Caniglio. Topic: Columbus Online Academy. Board action requested. Think creatively so they can maintain the Columbus Online Academy. President Caniglio.
Honorable board members, Dr. Chapman, tonight I'm here to ask you to stay in the game regarding K-6 online education. I've been employed in the district for 25 years. I've watched our students move to charter schools and non-publics. I've watched previous boards close schools, promising that there would be more academic, athletic, extracurricular student opportunities from consolidation. These opportunities have never materialized. If they had, the board would not still be discussing school and program consolidation. Here we are again. You cannot close your way to success. Closing the K-6 portion of the online academy will starve the program of students, and the program will soon be closed altogether. This will result in less parental choice in Columbus, and I am willing to bet many of the students will move to an online charter school option, further leading to the district's decline in enrollment. I'm asking the board to stop managing the slow decline of CCS and think big. Now is the time to grow our district, and now is the time to make CCS the premier destination for K-12 education in Columbus. The Columbus Education Association will be more than willing to partner with CCS to help produce a comprehensive plan to restructure and promote the online school. The Columbus Education Association will collaborate with the board and administration to help bring students back to CCS. I invite board members to do what Dr. Chapman has already done and met with our online educators, listen to their stories, and take into consideration their suggestions, not only to maintain, but grow the important option for our parents and students. I have a sign-up sheet here with me if you are interested in visiting and talking to the teachers of the Columbus Online Academy. And I have a pen if you're interested, right? Anybody?
I think Carl is going to come get it.
Are you finished? Oh, sorry, you had time left. I just wasn't sure. Thank you, President Caniglio. Our next speaker is Stuart McIntyre. Topic: Path Forward for CCS After School Levy. Board action requested. Protect the vulnerable citizens from displacement. Mr. McIntyre.
Good evening. Gotta adjust this thing. Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Chapman. My name is Stuart McIntyre. I'm a CCS alumni, son of a CCS teacher, and a father of a CCS student-to-be. I'm also a core team member of the Columbus Education Justice Coalition, and tonight I'll be speaking on behalf of the Columbus Education Justice Coalition. Our full statement will be available following the meeting. The levy passed on November 7th, and now it's time to ask the question, what's the path forward? Will the passage of the levy usher in an era of transformation and revitalization for Columbus City Schools? Will CCS and the school board begin restoring community trust and building support around a compelling vision for the future and expanding enrollment? Or will you continue the business as usual of managing the district's slow decline with CCS families left behind by indifferent political and business leaders while the board stands idly by? This is the choice for all of you, and this is the choice for district leadership. Right now, the Columbus Education Justice Coalition would like to highlight 2 items to address where we demand that the board take immediate action. 1, we demand that our elected officials protect the most vulnerable from displacement. The passage of the levy, alongside property reappraisals and a broader cost of living crisis, threatens to displace thousands of Columbus residents. This is unacceptable. And we demand that our elected officials at every level, not just the school board, our city, county, and state officials, take action and protect vulnerable seniors and all those hit hardest by the property valuation changes. The homestead exemption is not enough. The board must be driving this conversation since you all asked for this levy. 2, the board must challenge City Hall and Columbus's business leadership to support Columbus City Schools. We want to note the absence of public support from the Columbus Partnership and much of the business community for the levy. Their silence speaks volumes. Additionally, City Hall's new plan to expand residential tax abatements appears to be a scheme to siphon funds from Columbus City Schools to give handouts to real estate developers. When will we stop sacrificing the future of our children for the profits of developers? We demand that the board challenge City Hall on the impact of this new policy. We want to see you at city council meetings. That's what we're asking. And any and all tax deals that put real estate developers and corporate profits first, and our children and our CCS staff and families last. More broadly, it is the responsibility of this board to challenge City Hall and our region's business leaders to include CCS children in the future that is being built at this moment, rather than the status quo of leaving them behind as our city grows. The Columbus Education Justice Coalition envisions a future of shared prosperity, where our business community and elected officials see Columbus City Schools as we do, and as all of you do, full of promising young minds and the leaders of tomorrow. We sincerely invite each of you to work with us toward this vision and to publicly challenge City Hall and business leaders to include all of our children in Columbus's future. And frankly, if you choose not to work with us, we will do everything in our power to elect a school board that will. Thank you.
Thank you. Sticking with the topic of the levy, our next speaker will be Rebecca Johnson. Topic: longevity of the levy. Board action requested. Address how we are to plan ahead for our property taxes. Ms. Johnson.
Good evening to the Board of Education and all that are here in attendance this evening. My name is Rebecca Johnson, and I've had many different jobs, but I'm a retired caregiver of 13 years. I have a lot of concern about seniors that we're talking to that are dealing with the new levy. I took some time to take a look at the levy and all the deductions that will be coming out of my property taxes. And to tell you, I was shocked. I was in pure shock. I'm not a person that doesn't have the ability
to take care of my business, but I know a whole lot of people this is going to affect. And what I really want to understand, I don't know if this can be addressed here to get the answer, but I would like to at least have the answer when I go back to my civic association meeting. The levy, with the amount of money that you guys won this levy, I would really like to know how long that money is going to be taken out of our taxes. Previous years, I see a school levy is pretty much every time we vote. When does Columbus City Schools get it together where they don't have to constantly ask for these levies? It just doesn't seem fair. I just have too many people that I know right now that don't know how they're going to pay this, because it is a substantial amount that comes out. And I'm in agreement with the last speaker that if the board, the Columbus City Schools doesn't get it together, there has to be complete and total transparency with this board. We've been told a lot of things that haven't come true, and I look at the condition of a lot of the schools. I look at the condition of the students. They don't even want to come into the schools. They don't even want to learn. So I would really like to have it clear to me on how long this goes on, because I guarantee you, if you guys don't get it together, there is going to be failed levies. People are tired of the levies for all this improvement that we don't see. It's very sparse of what we see. And I just hope and pray that you guys will really take a look at, just like this, the people that were just standing up about their school. This affects you like crazy. It affects your whole neighborhood. It affects your community. And, you know, we're all going through a lot right now with everything being 10 times cheaper than it used to be. So my comment is really that when you guys ask for the levies, some of the things these people are asking for today, that has to be part of it. We just can't, you know, because we've already been told that there's going to be another levy not long after this. And I'll be honest with you, unless I see something different, and I'm definitely a civic-minded person, this time I voted for it. Next time I will not. I will not.
Thank you, Ms.
Because
Johnson.
I think it's time that we see a lot of change.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
You're welcome.
We have one more speaker on the topic of the levy. We have Hanif Muhammad. Mr. Muhammad? No?
He's coming. I think he's coming.
Oh.
Hey, I did have this printed off. Can you give me a second? Let me turn it around, try to get updated, take off my coat. It's a little hot back there. But first off, I'd like to give y'all a shout out, and I'd like to say y'all got a tough job. And I'm glad I ain't got y'all a job, and I'm glad I ain't got all these people coming after me. But yeah, and shouts out, I would like to say to the people back there that want to stay in the game, I believe that you should give kids the option, because I am one of them parents that did. Well, I came up in Columbus Public Schools, and it was hard for me. And I got a little boy. And when I seen that stuff was still the same, school to prison pipeline, when I looked at the way Marion Franklin looked, I immediately pulled my son out of that school and I put him into a charter school. I don't know if that's a bad thing, if y'all don't want to hear that, but I didn't know that I could stay in the game with these people right here. And so I believe that y'all really should promote online schooling. That way you could try to retain some type of enrollment in anything to stop the charter schools from getting. It's not that I like the charter school. They don't even have the money that you guys got or the programs. But yeah, congratulations on passing that levy. And I want to take all the time out to thank all the elderly people who endured the higher taxes to ensure that the generations make it, they have a good education. These people done already graduated. They done got kids and grandkids, and this is going to affect them, so I want to give a shout out to them. I believe it's like $200 a year. They already on a fixed budget, you know what I'm saying? So hopefully you guys hear their voices and you take that into your heart and you be able to make a difference. Hey man, shout out to Ms. Vera up there, man. She came out to the hood, rolled up her sleeves and talked. So for everybody out there, I know y'all may not believe in this board, but there are good people on this board, so I want y'all just to give them a chance. But like I said, man, my child did attend Watkins Elementary. It's not something that that I could brag about, but I believe we as a community we all should be held responsible for some of the accepted ignorance that goes on inside of our community, and we are producing those kids, but at the same time, the school system has these kids the majority of the day, and when you see this uptick in crime, I wonder why it doesn't break you guys' heart to know that we are producing these children, and I just, you know what I'm saying, I truly believe. And you know, people like Ms. Vera, and I believe like the people in the Stay in the Game, and I want to thank everybody for coming out just to voice their opinion. It's hard to talk when you're on the time clock, so I keep watching this clock. I knew I was gonna sweat. As you can see, my screen cut off, so it's all love, but thank you for coming out. You got a tough job. I'm gonna advocate on your behalf. I'm gonna give you a chance. You got your levy. I wanna see what you gonna do with it. Now, if I just happen to walk around and I don't see this tennis court get improved and I don't see different things like that, then I'm not gonna say I'm gonna vote you out, because I'm not that mean. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna give you a chance just to make it happen. So big up to y'all. Hopefully y'all get these people Stay in the Game so I can get my kid back into Columbus School so I don't have to pay taxes. And yeah, it's like, you feel me? It's like I'm paying property taxes, but because of the dangers to my kid, I got him into this charter school. So as soon as y'all, and I don't really like the charter school, so as soon as y'all could get that together, I would like to, you know, get my kid back into the school. And I'm out of time. Thank you very much. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. We're going to hear from Tim Johnson. Graduation rate at Marion Franklin High School and staff turnover, board action, improve the graduation rate from Marion Franklin High School and evaluate why the turnover rate is so high. Mr. Johnson.
I don't know if I want to follow after that one. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tim Johnson, and I just want to talk about the things that are going on here at Marion Franklin High School. We have addressed some of we have some very concerns, issues happening here at Marion Franklin. Over the past 3 years, we have witnessed a decline in enrollment, grades, and number of qualified teachers and administrators that are leaving our school. Despite engaging and dialoguing with Dr. Womack, it appears that these concerns have been brushed up under the rug. Additionally, Principal Fleming's lack of accessibility to parents and the community and community leaders lead us to believe that this may be a part of the problem. This year, graduation class has only 96 students, and out of 96 students, we have about 12 to 13 that will be graduating. That's about 14 to 15% graduation. I don't know, but that hurts. We have a high turnover rate with our teachers and administrators in the last 2 years, which correlates to the reason why maybe our graduation rate is failing. We have, you know, I come from Marion Franklin. I graduated from Marion Franklin. I'm a Southfield person. I take Marion Franklin and this community seriously. I expect that we hold everybody accountable. If you come into this community, you just can't do what you want to do. You have to respect what we want. And we demand that we get what we need for our children. And if you can't come in here and work with the community and help, I mean, we're failing. So why wouldn't you take the time to reach out and use the resources? It seems like everything is a facade. We're going to have presentations to make this school look like it's doing well, and it's not. We're going to put a presentation on to show that this is what's, you know, like this school is really doing well, and it's not. That's a facade. So we want to stop the facades and get back to the groundworks and improve our school do the things that are necessary, work together so that we can produce quality young people to take over. That's all we're asking for. I'm looking forward to seeing what this board does. And Vice President Vera, we really appreciate you coming to the Civic Association meeting because your talk changed a lot. It made me believe into this, to the board, and I trust y'all. So we're gonna, work with y'all and hope that y'all can make a difference so Southfield, Marion Franklin can do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. We will now hear from Nina Van Landingham regarding academic standards. Board action requested, commit to transparency and accountability with respect to district expectations.
Good evening, President Adair, Vice President Vera, Superintendent Chapman, and fellow board members. As the parent of 4 children in the CCS system, I want to be able to trust that my children's schools are doing what they say they do and are transparent about matters concerning them. While most of my children's teachers at Ecole Kenwood French Immersion have been truly phenomenal educators, I have been met with a surprising degree of opposition and even some untruths in my attempts to gain clarity and resolution with respect to expectations, curriculum, standards, French and English instruction, grades, and accountability from several subpar teachers as well as school leadership. In emailing, speaking, and meeting with leaders across all levels of the district over the past 12+ months, I have come to learn there is no outright responsibility or requirement for CCS educators to teach Ohio's learning standards to students in the district. As you mentioned when we spoke last Monday, Superintendent Chapman, this can become a compounding issue. When standards aren't covered one year, students may not have the necessary foundations for learning the next year's standards, leaving teachers with the goal of both catching students up on past standards and ensuring progress on new standards. While I understand there are significant challenges to promising that all CCS students will learn all of the standards that have been laid out by the state of Ohio, finding a pathway to holding substandard teachers accountable or removing them from classrooms, as well as recognizing and/or rewarding excellent teachers will remove at least one of those challenges. Stop holding water for bad teachers who are unwilling or incapable of meeting basic expectations. It isn't fair to students, families, good teachers, or district stakeholders. I am responsible for my children and their education. My husband and I are committed to filling in any gaps left by their teachers. As members of the board and as the superintendent, you have undertaken a responsibility for every single student in the district, including mine. Not every caregiver is aware there are gaps or has the ability to fill them in. What will you do to ensure there are no gaps to be filled? How will you demonstrate your commitment to transparency and accountability with respect to district expectations? Members of the community, if you share these or similar concerns, please reach out to me. Together, we will continue to pursue equity and advocate for all CCS students to receive a quality education every year in every class. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. We will now hear from President Nana Watson on legislation 17.1, which is authority to enter into a purchase of service agreement with Sightlines LLC. Board action requested. Rethink your vote. President Watson.
Good evening, Board President Adair, members of the board, Superintendent Chapman. The Columbus NAACP is concerned once again that you anticipate voting to provide a contract to Sightlines LLC located in Greenville, South Carolina, to the tune of $506,520 of taxpayer dollars. Adding to this, although the firm has agreed to provide contracts to minority and Black businesses, 20%, that's what the legislation says, that equates to $101,000. Out-of-state majority-held company will walk away with $405,000+ of tax dollars. If minority and Black businesses can receive subcontracts, they can also serve as prime and lead contractors. We question, was an RFP issued? If yes, when and to whom? Could a copy of this RFP be provided to the NAACP? In reviewing the website of Sightlines, their leadership, as pictured on their website, is comprised of all majority individuals. Their website states they value diversity. However, with no Black minorities portrayed in leadership roles, this is questionable. Do they value diversity and inclusion? Which brings us to the question, the significance of diversity and inclusion for diverse contractors and suppliers of the Columbus City Schools, particularly based on some of your decision and contract awards. The NAACP continues to reiterate that you are not good stewards of taxpayer dollars. This recent decision, a potential award of $506,000 to an out-of-state company, highlights our concern, which certainly is not a win for local diverse firms. Neither does it exemplify sound expenditures of taxpayer dollars. Again, not good stewards of tax dollars, and this is unexcusable. Happy holidays to you.
Thank you, President Watson. Our next speaker is Keisha Black. Topic, transportation and adjustment transfer. Board action requested. Approve adjustment transfer request, give new bus routing, and put the bus stop back at the home address.
That's one of the screecher alarms.
Is Ms. Black here? She's right there.
Hello, my name is Keisha Black, and I have two children that attend Columbus City Schools. I do want to say I thank you for the opportunity to address my concerns in regards to transportation and to adjustment transfer. My daughter, who attends Valley Forge Elementary School, was injured on a Columbus City school bus. It has not been addressed within 3 months. It's very time consuming. I've made multiple phone calls in regards to this matter to the steps of command, the chains of command. And if it was y'all's children or one of y'all's child, I would expect for someone to get in contact. Y'all would want somebody to get in contact with y'all. I don't take my children's education lightly, nor their health. My daughter was approaching a Columbus City school bus and was injured due to the negligence of a driver. He was assuming that she was in her seat, and she was not. And when she proceeded to move forward to get to her seat, she fell and was injured and sustained a contusion to her hip. She is going ongoing treatment for therapy, physical therapy for that. I have notified Dr. Chapman and multiple other individuals in regards to this matter. And it's very time consuming because no one's getting back with me. It's a big communication on leadership. And as me being a parent, I'm going to advocate for my daughter to make sure she gets the best education as possible. As far as the adjustment transfer goes, I approached my daughter's school in regards to this matter, and it was brought to my attention that it was denied when there was no action never taken on the principal side. I previously just got the paperwork this past Friday where I submitted it yesterday to the school board to be looked at, and I still haven't heard any response. If this was your child, what would you do in this situation? The bus driver thought it was funny, and I don't think it's not right. And I feel like if y'all are getting paid this amount of money, this X amount of dollars, and my child should be getting treated like everybody else's children. She's not just somebody who's coming to school not getting an education. She's not one of these kids that's just running around not trying to do what she's supposed to do. She's coming to get an education. And then also too, she doesn't want to attend the school she's at now because it's just not good for her. I have approached the principal in regard to this matter about her getting transferred back to her old school where she has a relationship with Oakland Park. And it's just, I would like to know, if this was y'all's child, what would y'all do?
Thank you, Ms. Black.
Thank you.
Our last speaker is Tashay Cook, transportation concern, board action, provide transportation for my niece to a new school since there was a bus incident earlier this year.
Hello, Dr. Chapman and members of the school board. My name is Tashay Cook. I am the aunt of Jalen Black. I'm also the dance team president at our church, and ever since Jalen's incident on the bus, she has been complaining of her hip, and it's affecting not only her school, but it's also affecting her being able to do things that she loved, like dancing at church. Me and Ms. Black, we have a hard time in the mornings getting her to go to school, go to Valley Forge, because of her injury and just her traumatic state of what happened to her. She is still to this day complaining of her hip and her injury. Her principal was not truthful in relaying messages and getting her transferred back to her previous school, and I just want to see something done about this matter because I don't like seeing her in pain. I don't like having to try and get her to go to school when she doesn't want to go there, and I just feel like something needs to be done about this.
And I was also supposed to be on tonight with Mr. Hoffman. I'm Mr. McDonald, so I would like to get my 3 minutes as well.
You can use the remainder of her time, sir.
Okay, so I'm Jalen's goddad, and I'm also her spiritual father, and I'm also her pastor. And Jalen has got hurt on the school bus. The school bus driver, she got on the bus, and she was proceeded to walk. He took off real fast. She fell, hurt herself, and I told him to stop. He kept going, and we met the bus at the school to address the driver about it, and he said he assumed that Jalen was sitting down. She sit in seat 10. She falls between seat 1 and 2, and then when we addressed him about it, he smirked and thought it was funny. I said, listen, you make sure that all children are sitting down on the school bus. And I also told him that what you did was not right, letting a father to check on her daughter. And another thing too is that Jalen is very unhappy at Valley Forge. The principals told us 3 months ago that he put a transfer in and it was denied. Come to find out yesterday, talking to Mr. Hoffman, the principal said he take ownership that he never did it. And this been 3 months. And just Friday, we had to fill out the paperwork. We didn't fill no paperwork out 3 months ago. We just now filling out the paperwork, and he said he take ownership. But for Jalen to go through this is not right. She's hurting, she's been through a lot, And I just want y'all to know this matter needs to be looking into about my daughter being hurt. She got to go to physical therapy. And we was told that this matter from the school board, from the superintendent and Dr. Murphy, that this matter was moved up to the highest capacity. No one have heard anything. We have not heard anything except from September when she got hurt. And when we just now talking to the school, the bus driver supervisor at the end of November, this happened in September. He said he was unaware
Thank you, sir.
of what was going on.
you, sir.
So
Thank you
that's
for
what That's
advocating.
what I would like to say today.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. All right, that closes our public comment section. We're going to move into our board matters. We have 2 board members that tonight is their last meeting. And so I would like to present them with their apple to thank them for their service. The first is for Judge Eric Brown. His service was from 2016 to 2023. And I'll bring this to you. And if you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you. I have truly enjoyed my time, my 8 years on this school board. Some of you may know that I did 15 years of school board service once upon a time, early in my career. And I enjoyed that very much, and that's why upon retirement, I figured this would be a challenging and good and productive thing to do. I have been pleased with my colleagues. I have been pleased with our administration, and I'm aware that there are challenges. Nobody would say otherwise, but I like the path that we're on. I like the direction, and I like the people that are leading the district. Not only that, but I'm fond of many teachers and bus drivers and the rest of the support staff that help with our students. Of course, students most of all, they are what we're all here about. And it's been a joy for me to work on this. The reason that I think it's time is that I want to see some new people. They don't have to be young, but some new people with new ideas come forward and help to lead this district. I know that it's in good hands, and I'm comfortable leaving it on these circumstances. But it's time for me to get out of the way and let some new people come in and help. So thank you all, to all my colleagues. I love you all, and thank you.
Thank you. Our next board colleague is Carol Beckerly. She served from 2020 to 2023. Member Beckerly, would you like to say a few words? I'll bring it to you.
I too want to express that it's been an honor serving on this board and working for our students for the past 4 years. There were some difficult times and some unusually rough waters. It's been an honor serving under our leadership, President Dare, Vice President Vera, and Vice President Reyes when she was Vice President. Through those tough waters, working underneath you. I am excited about where the district is right now. I think we have a top-notch superintendent, as well as our interim treasurer and interim internal auditor, and I think that we're poised to do some really incredible things. I think I'm not worried about what we're going to do with the levy money because I think we know what we're going to do and it's going to be good for kids. I'm also pleased that we have the goals and guardrails. I think that's structurally a real accomplishment for the board, and I would encourage everyone to continue down that path of monitoring leading indicators. Are we on track? What are we doing? If we're off track, to get on track. That's a mindset shift and a culture shift, having served in the district as a teacher, that I really think is critical to the success of our children. And I have a lot of gratitude to everyone who has put up with me. I was saying the other night that I can sometimes doggedly pursue things probably more than is efficient or effective. So I appreciate everyone's patience and their support. And they're not here, but thank you to my family, especially to my wonderful husband who supported me throughout this time.
Thank you so much for your service, Board Member Beckerly. Normally, we have other board members say things, but it is, I understand that our student ambassadors need to do their presentation, so we are going to skip that. I know that they know how much we love them and appreciate them, and are thankful for their service alongside of us. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Chapman.
Good evening, President Adair, members of the board. We have a few presentations this evening. One is regional highlights. The second presentation we'll hear from our principal as well as our superintendent student ambassadors. The second part of our presentation will be updating the board on our interim board goals. And then the third presentation that we'll have is an update on our ERS work. But we want to fast forward to our student presentation because I know that our students have other commitments this evening, and we want to give them the microphone. We're here at Marion Franklin, and we certainly want to hear from our students. They have prepared this presentation this evening to share about their experience here at Marion Franklin. And so I'm going to turn it over to Principal Fleming, who'll introduce our superintendent student ambassadors that are here with us this evening.
Good evening, Board President Adair, Vice President Vera, and members of the board, Superintendent Chapman, Internal Auditor O'Connor, and Treasurer Vanover. Thank you for allowing us to be the host site for tonight's Board of Education meeting. My name is Tanita Fleming, and not only do I have the privilege of being the principal here at Marion Franklin, but I'm also a very proud graduate of Marion Franklin as well. Ms. Angela Nelson and Mr. James Wilson, also an alum, serve as educational leaders for our administrative team. While our mission statement and vision are in alignment with the district and our region, we are also committed to ensuring that our students are reading at or above grade level by 2026. Tonight, we want to share our story, the real story of Marion Franklin High School. And to do that, I have with me a few wonderful and quality students and staff members who have worked very hard preparing this presentation and delayed the start of their winter break to be here with us tonight. To start us off, I would like to introduce Ariana Mathis as she shares her experiences as a Marion Franklin High School student. Ariana?
Good evening. My name is Ariana Mathis. I am class of 2025, and I have just came to Marion Franklin this year. Walking in, I was immediately welcomed into the building. Teachers and students didn't hesitate to converse and show me around the building. While being here, I became a Columbus City Schools Superintendent Student Ambassador, and I also take college classes through Columbus State, which I have taken my freshman year. With that being said, I'd like to welcome Alasia Lewis to tell her story.
Good
Good evening. My name's Elijah Lewis, but you can call me Elijah. I am a class of 2024 student. I'm also attending the Career Center at Riverside, and I'm also involved in the principals panel. I've been here for like 4 years, and my favorite part about Marion Franklin is having awesome and wonderful teachers and students that always be there to help me whenever I get in trouble or get supporting me when I stuck on a problem. Thank you, and happy holidays to you.
I'd now like to show you guys a video that demonstrates how Marion Franklin has created an environment with a culture of care.
Because of Marion Franklin, I get to work with kids using PBIS. I get to see them display RED, respect, excellence, and diversity.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Chapman, and Treasurer Vanover. Good to see you. Looking at the 2021 panorama data, we saw some downward trends in the cultural awareness and action and the school climate. But the good news is, looking at the 2023 data, based off of the last survey, we're starting to see an upward trend. In that school climate, we're up 15%, and in the sense of belonging, we are up 8%. So we're seeing an overall change of plus 15 in the school climate. Looking at some key attendance data, we're also seeing some good news there. Overall attendance rate from 2021 to 2022, 2022 to 2023, from 2021-22, we're actually plus 8%. Looking at the chronic absenteeism, we are actually down 9%. In 2022, looking at the percent of students not tested, we are down there as well. We're down 11%, moving from 23.4% not tested in 2021-22 to just 12% not tested in 22-23. Bottom line is attendance has improved across the board at Marion Franklin when looking at it in different categories and using different metrics. Thank you. I'm going to introduce Khalees Vickers-G. She is a cohort graduate of for 2026. She is also a member of the superintendent student ambassador, and she's a member of the Marion Franklin High School Band, and she is a member of the Marion Franklin High School Principal Panel. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it today, but we do have her video we want to share with you guys. Thank you.
Board members, my
My name is Khalees Vickers G, and I am a sophomore here at Marion Franklin High School, class of 2026. Since being here, I've been involved in tennis, band, and the principal's panel. Our school offers many activities and programs for students to be involved in. Instead of telling you about them, we thought we should show you. Take a look.
Marion Franklin, I got a lot of opportunities. I met a lot of people throughout the city and out the state. I got to go to different colleges in different states too, and I got to meet a lot of coaches from different states. So, yeah.
Because of Marion Franklin High School, I'm able to work alongside students in the greenhouse and garden, cultivating plants and nurturing essential social emotional learning skills such as teamwork, patience, and resilience. Go Red Devils!
Because of Marion Franklin, I have the opportunity to study AP African American Studies.
Good evening. My name is D'Amico Johnson. I am a cohort of class of 2024. Oh, I didn't see it. Oh, sorry. I'm a member of the National Honor Society, a member of the Marion Franklin Varsity football team and wrestling team. One way the staff at Marion Franklin High School has made an impact on my life is my math teacher, Mr. Perkins, because he teaches very well, and he is one of the reasons why I will further my education in college. I have also been accepted to many universities. The next video will show how the staff at Marion Franklin High School can impact the lives of students through education and still have fun in the process.
Because of Marion Franklin, students who live in the area, some walking distance, are able to attend a hometown community-based school where they are supported academically, emotionally, physically, and mentally. Because of Marion Franklin, our students are learning how to not just survive their local community, but how to thrive in their community and beyond.
I work for Impact Community Action as an in-school youth AMP coach. We're here at Marion Franklin High School. My alumni of the Marion Franklin High School class of 2018 decided to come back being an AMP coach with Impact Community Action to try to give back to the community and the students here by providing workforce development, professional development, and pathways for self-sufficiency. Being in this building, I can't speak here enough about it. It has a deep, rich culture within inside of it, and we're just trying to help get these kids to where they need to be and help instill that culture inside them as well. So.
love most about Marion Franklin is the students. They are the reason why I come here every day. They're the reason that I've stayed here since 2004. I genuinely enjoy coming to work because they genuinely make my day. So, Southside Pride, each and every day, and I love the kids. That's why I stay.
Hi, my name is Coach Leeper, and because of Marion Franklin, I have been allowed to work day to day with the student athletes to help protect their future and their present. I am an alumni of Marion Franklin. I graduated in 2016. It's been such a great honor and a great opportunity to be back in this building to help build our kids for the future.
So again, I want to thank our students who worked very hard to put this presentation together, and I want to thank you for allowing us to share our narrative, our story. And we also want to make sure before you leave here that you remember we want you to remember Southside Pride each and every day. Go Red Devils!
Thank you, Principal Fleming, and our superintendent, student ambassadors, student leaders, and staff who shared their insights about their experience at Marion Franklin. We certainly appreciate your time this evening and joining us for the board meeting, and enjoy your holiday break. At this time, I'm going to ask Dr. Womack to come up to share the highlights from the region. Typically, we start with that portion of the presentation. So Dr. Womack, thanks for allowing us a little bit of flexibility as we did our best to accommodate our student schedules.
Thank you so much for making the adjustment in order to make sure that those students had a chance to share their perspective, because they were the most important part of the presentation. So thank you very much, Board President Adair, Superintendent Chapman, and board members, because I know they needed to get that time. And I think D'Amico's mom called him about 3 times. So we thank you for that. Today, I would like to share some highlights of the progress, the program, and the people who helped make up Region 3. So who is Region 3? Region 3 is made up of 19 schools, serving approximately 6,500 students. Of those 6,500 students, 80% are minority, with the largest minority group being African Americans. Our second largest group is our white students, and our Hispanic students are growing. As you see, we have 19% of our students receiving special education services, and our growing English language learners population in Region 3. So what does Region 3 look like? Region 3 consists of 3 high school feeder patterns: East High School, Marion Franklin High School, and South. Champion Middle School feeds into East High School, Buckeye feeds into Marion Franklin, and we have 14 elementary schools which feed into Region 3 feeder patterns at East, Marion Franklin, and South. Our core values. Our vision for Region 3 is that each student will meet or exceed grade level expectations by the time they leave our schools and graduate prepared for the next chapter in life, whatever that chapter may lead them to. Our mission aligns with the Columbus City Schools mission, but our core values are our foundation. We believe that a key is that education provides our students choices, chances, and options. We believe that exposure changes expectations, but it's the experiences that we provide our children that change lives. And we believe that education is economic development, and it comes with a cost. You must pay attention. If you look at the slides and the logos on the last slide, you can go back one, Ryan. These are the colleges and universities and some of the places that we've been able to take our students over the last 3 years using the ESSER funds in order to ensure that our students had exposure to new experiences. Wright State, Kentucky State, Central State, Wittenberg, my alumni, Mount Union. We work with the PACS program, the PALS program, and the Dreams on Horseback programs, in addition to getting our students to Canton, Ohio to see the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Next slide. Our foundation is based on the TRIO model. We believe that the family is the first place for education for students, but we also know with the schools and the communities working together collectively, we can ensure strong academic outcomes for our students. But no one component on this TRIO method can do it by themselves, which is why we work so hard collectively to ensure that our families, our schools, and our communities are working together with a clear vision to improve the academic outcomes from the students that we serve. And it does truly take a village, but that is our foundation. It is based on my philosophy from Dr. Ron Edmonds, the father of the urban improvement movement in the 1970s. He said, "We can, whenever and wherever we choose, successfully teach all children whose schooling is of interest to us. Whether we do it or not must finally depend on how we feel about the fact that we haven't done it so far." Here are some examples of exposures and experiences throughout our region this year. Thank you, Ryan. You can stop there. So folks, what we tried to do, recognizing that several of our students had to lead this evening, is provide you with video representation of the exposure and experiences that we provide students throughout the region in order to improve the academic outcomes for the students that we serve. What you've seen is examples of organizations and programs that we work with collectively as well as parents in order to improve the academic outcomes of the students that we serve. You could go to the Region 3 highlights. There are some key components and programs that we've implemented in our TRIO model. Those include the Health Science Academies, which are a part of the East Feeder Platter, where we try to prepare our students for careers in the health sciences and future careers in medicine so that therefore they have jobs that will help them afford to take care of themselves as well as their families. We have the Junior ROTC program featured at South High School, so those students who want to move on and can enlist in the military have a viable option. We focus a lot of time and attention on our community partnerships, where we have community partnership appreciation luncheons. Our recent community partner appreciation luncheon took place at the Ohio Historical Society, where we had about 20 members come out and share their ideas and programs that they would like to do in order to support us. Two things that we've really based our success on in regards to our progress is the AVID instructional framework. AVID is advancing via individual design. One of the things about AVID is it provides our students with strategy, Cornell note-taking, philosophical chairs, Socratic method, as well as time management methods. It's one thing to know how to do something, but it's something else to provide strategies. And we used ESSER funds in order to ensure that each middle school and all of our high schools have staff members who are trained in order to implement the AVID instructional framework, preparing our kids for AP courses as well as College Credit Plus courses. One of the things we really put our hat on is our real league, the Region 3 Extended Extracurricular Learning League, where we bring our families and communities together in order to focus on early literacy. The program has been phenomenally successful because every student recognizes that in order to participate, you have to go ahead and participate in a study table using District Tier 2 enrichment opportunities as well as remediation opportunities in order to improve their academic outcomes. Study table is required. Your grades, attendance, and behavior must be on par in order to participate. And those are 3 of the things or 5 of the things that we've used collectively across our region in order to ensure that our students are graduating, matriculating, and focusing on early literacy. I would like to highlight our progress. So when I started in the region in 2019, there were 6 out of 19 schools that were meeting what we call adequate yearly progress or making at least a year's worth of growth on the state assessment. That's from 3rd grade ELA all the way up to high school. In 2022, 14 out of our 19 schools met or exceeded a year's worth of growth on a progress indicator, i.e. 3 or more stars in regards to progress on the state assessment. Last year, 15 out of our 19 schools made at least a year or more's worth of progress on the state assessment. So we've seen exceeding growth, exceptional growth, and that is the work of not me, but the work of our principals, our teachers, our instructional coaches, our family ambassadors, our classified staff, and the commitment that Columbus City Schools has made in regards to the early literacy programs and the foundation with the work that we put in. And I give a lot of kudos to my staff members, because I tell Brother Baker, who's my leadership coach, we don't teach one class. So it's an exceptional growth over the last few years in regards to our value added based on the state report card. Community partnership appreciations. One of the things that we talk about in the TRIO method is the importance of us, the families, and the community coming together collectively in order to get input, because each one of those components is critical. Last year, our community appreciation lunch included over 70 participants. This year, we had a brief one that took place at the Ohio Historical Society, and some of the things that those community partners talked to us about included neighborhood schools, a focus on early literacy and how we could work together collectively, as well as mental health supports for our students who are dealing in trauma due to some of the neighborhood violence that has taken place. But each and every one of those organizations was willing to help us and support us in the Columbus City Schools. Finally, what I would like to talk about is one of our most successful programs, the Real League. A video is worth 1,000 words.
Whenever you have parents, students, staff, and the community collectively involved, collectively engaged for anything, the results are going to come.
I want the basketball year to keep going because the friendship we have, everybody on my team, we just been having a good time. Especially when we make a shot, we all be clapping. When somebody makes a shot, we just make them proud.
And so the kids needed to see something positive. They needed to be able to do some things that would get them outside of what they heard on television or saw on the news every day in a capacity where we all came together collectively. And so I think it made an impact on them to see that collaboration and teamwork works, and more importantly, that families will come out to support you when you're trying to do something positive.
So the league has been a blessing to my son. It keeps him motivated to come to school every day, do his work, and it just keeps the kids in a positive spirit.
It has helped me overcome being able to multitask because since I am a student athlete, I have to balance my grades and my extracurricular activities.
There are so many of our families that are disconnected from our schools. And how do we bridge that gap? We believe that the REAL program is a vehicle that can be utilized to drive home the message that together we are better.
Thank you, Ryan. And board members, if you would like to see the full video, you could use the QR code, and that will give you the longer version where you have more parents, more principals, and more community partners talking about how we utilize that resource on Saturdays between November all the way up into April, whether it be flag football, whether it be drill team, whether it be cheerleading. 16 out of our 19 schools participate in that Real League. Any student participating in that league is required to have outstanding grades, attendance, and behavior, and they're all required to go to study table. A lot of the academic success we've seen with the state assessment and growth, we attribute to the families coming together collectively with the community and the schools, utilizing that Real League as a vehicle to ensure our students have educational opportunities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Womack. Thank you for your flexibility. More importantly, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for highlighting the great work that's happening throughout your region. And certainly great to hear these highlights from Region 3. And now we're going to transition to our next presentation. Two board meetings ago, we, as a board, we made recommendations to the board about our board goals and standing up a new board goal and making revisions to 2 of our board goals. Tonight, we are making recommendations for the interim goals that are aligned to our 3 board goals. So I would like to invite Dr. Brown to the podium to provide us with an overview of these recommendations. Again, the the work that we did at our previous meeting to set the targets for our board goals was certainly the anchor for this work. And so now we are aligning the interim goals to those metrics that we have already agreed to.
Good evening, President Adair, Vice President Vera, Superintendent Chapman, members of the board and community. Pleasure to be with you again this evening. I think the superintendent outlined this again at the last board meeting. The board, actually 2 board meetings ago, the board adopted the new targets for the board goals and adopted a new board goal for mathematics. We are simply back here now to talk about the superintendent's interim measures and aligning those interim measures to the new board goals and new board goal targets. So again, the newly established board goals set the benchmarks to monitor progress for the system over time. They will accelerate learning for our students. The board goal for reading, for example, we know that our students in the middle part of kindergarten are somewhere between 14 and 15% reading at grade level. The current board goal and target will have those students tripling their on-grade level performance by the end of 3rd grade at the conclusion of that goal. It is a substantial and ambitious goal, and the interims then align to help facilitate that work. Again, the superintendent interim goals, as the board is aware, and we've been through this before, act as leading indicators to help us understand, because 3rd grade reading doesn't happen just in 3rd grade. It starts in kindergarten, works its way up. Same thing with 7th grade mathematics. It's not all just in 7th grade. There's a lead up to it in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And the same with graduation. Graduation doesn't just happen in the senior year. It's a cohort. It starts when kids enter 9th grade, and we have to monitor their progress as they move forward. In terms of the adjustments, there are 3 things that I think it's important for folks to remember. The board previously was vetting interims and the measures that we use for interims. One of the criteria is that those interims have to help us predict what's going to happen on our goals. And for that, we have shown repeatedly that there's a strong relationship between iReady and the OST. They're highly correlated. The correlations are somewhere around 0.8. It is a great predictor of OST performance. We've seen this repetitively over time. It tells us where we're going. It's a great sort of GPS indicator to help us know whether or not we're on track as we move forward. Likewise, you can't graduate if you're not acquiring credits on time. It is the basic component of the graduation model in the state. It's that sort of that basics piece that they look at every time. If students aren't acquiring credit on time, then they have difficulty taking advantage of the more advanced and rigorous coursework we want them to access in high school. In order to set goals, we use baseline averages. We look at performance over time and look at a baseline, and then we anchor to where we want to be at the end, looking at what the targets are for the system as a whole. Again, these targets now are much more in line with the new board targets, the goals that the board recently set. And historically, we had a little bit of a challenge because we were often looking at our interims mid-year, but the targets were set at the end of the year. We've aligned those. Now the targets are mid-year targets aligned to mid-year goals, interim goals. So let's start walking through them. We'll start with strengthening reading proficiency. The adopted board goal language, the percentage of 3rd grade students proficient in reading on the Ohio State test will increase from 34.5% in school year 22-23 to 44.5% in June of 28. Again, the increment is 2 percentage points per year. And again, the interims here will remain anchored to iReady achievement and stretch growth because again, for us to begin to close gaps and accelerate improvements in achievement, we first must accelerate growth. I was really pleased to hear the amount of growth that has happened here in this region and how that shows up on the report card. Anchoring to growth, again, is a precursor. It's necessary for us to move achievement in the long run. The layout for each of these interims will look the same. The language is at the top in terms of the goal. The trend for the targets for each year is in between. And then there's a little chart at the bottom that shows historical performance, as well as what the old targets were and the new targets. Again, the new targets align to the new board goals. So our interim one, where our kindergartners start, is the percentage of kindergarten students considered proficient on the iReady diagnostic assessment or who have exceeded growth expectations will increase from 35.8% in January of 23 to 44% in January 28. If you look at this, again, comparable to the board goal, these increment up by 2 percentage points per year. And if you look at the trajectory for the blue line and the targets, they line up very well to where we're starting and project forward to where we're going. And again, supportive of where we're going overall, tied to our board goals. First grade, very similar language. Again, the proportion of students who are on grade level or who have met stretch growth. The expectation is, again, will increase from 32.5% in January of 23 to 42% in January of 28. Again, similar pattern, much like the board goal, 2 percentage point increment each year, lines up to where we are now and projects forward to where we're going. Finally, second grade goal, the interim again aligned to the iReady diagnostic assessment, anchored to the proportion of kids who are on grade level, as well as the proportion of kids who are meeting stretch growth. The increments are 2 percentage points a year, and again, align to where we start and move forward to support where we need to go in terms of our board targets. The board introduced a new goal for strengthening mathematics proficiency. The layout for this will be very similar. It starts in we know our target is in 7th grade. The interims will be in grades 4, 5, and 6. Very similar idea. So the adopted goal language for the 7th grade measure is the percentage of 7th grade students proficient in mathematics on the OST will increase from 14.7% in school year 22-23 to 23.45% in June of 2028. The interims, again, are anchored to iReady. We see a very strong correlation between iReady and OST performance in mathematics as well. And again, we're looking at both performance at grade level as well as stretch growth, because again, stretch growth will help us close gaps and move students forward up through the performance index and to increase overall performance over time. For this, there was a little less prior data to work from, particularly in middle school. And again, we have modest expectations for the first 2 years as we stand up programming and professional development for our teachers to change practices over time. Let's be clear, in terms of reading, there has been a lot of investment and a lot of training that has built up over several years. Changes don't happen overnight without investment and training to help folks move forward. The first of the interims is 4th grade. And again, setting that path forward to 7th grade. It matches a very similar pattern to the overall board targets for 7th grade. Modest the first year, and then increments up in the latter years the same way. Moving on to 5th grade, again, a very similar pattern. We're looking at the proportion of students on grade level and the proportion who are making stretch growth as we move forward. Again, starting where we are, initially first year, modest gains, and then incrementing up more aggressively as we move forward. And finally, for 6th grade, again, similar pattern. There were only 2 points of data to work from for that this first time around. And so a little less confident to set up an aggressive trend for this, but moving it forward in a similar pattern, modest at first, and then more aggressively later, to move our students forward in terms of the mathematics proficiency. Again, want to anchor this to the fact that mathematics is a statewide challenge. Less than half the students around the state are performing at the current standard level in mathematics. And obviously, we have a lot of work to do in this area, but we have to build capacity to be able to move forward. Finally, moving on to graduation. The adopted goal language is the percentage of four-year graduation cohort students who complete state and district graduation requirements will increase from 78.2% in August of 23 to 83.2% in August of 28. This goal, as adopted by the board, increments up 1 percentage point per year. That may not sound ambitious to most folks, but in fact, when you look at systems around the state, nobody's done that every year in a row. That consistent commitment to continuous improvement of 1 percentage point or more. So we actually anchored to this to the highest performance observed in the state for large school systems. So that performance is anchored to that. Again, on-track rates, on-time credit accrual, foundation for graduation, and is predictive of where we're going to land. The 9th grade target for this, based on past performance, was actually raised. So looking at 9th grade, interim 3.1, the percentage of 9th grade students who are on track to graduate will increase from 71.1% in January 23 to 73% in January of 28. As you'll see, if you look at our past data, we've seen quite a lot of improvement in where 9th graders are coming in. Our investment in middle school is expected to accelerate that, the middle school math. But one of the biggest hurdles for students is Algebra 1, and this investment in and paying attention to the progress of students in mathematics will have them better prepared to enter high school, and we expect that to ultimately help students be better, keep more students on track as they go through 9th and 10th grade. Our 10th grade on track, again, percentage of 10th grade students who are on track to graduate will increase from 57.1% in January of 23 to 64% in January of 28. Again, the model here matches that of the board target, going up, incrementing 1 percentage point per year. And it is anchored to where we ended last year and moves forward in a very systematic fashion from that point. And finally, the 11th grade on track will increase from 53.2% in January of 23 to 63% in January of 28. The goals here are a little bit more aggressive. Again, we're looking at where cohorts are. That cumulative effect of students being better prepared in 9th grade and better prepared in 10th grade allows us to be a little bit more aggressive in 11th grade and sets the goals up for that as we move forward. Again, these are the interim measures. They'll help us monitor and have early indicators or leading indicators before we see the actual board goals for each of these. With that, we are concluded.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. President Adair, board members, if you have any questions regarding the interim goals, we'll entertain those questions at this time.
Board Member Beckerly. Thanks. I have a couple of questions. One is, it has to do with the reading mostly. I'm wondering about the timing of these interim measures for iReady, because part of the whole idea of looking at leading indicators is that you have time to adjust if you're not on track. So what is the timing? Because I'm thinking these are year end.
No, these are mid-year.
These are mid-year.
We have aligned all these to mid-year.
Okay.
This was always, I think, a challenge in the past when we were presenting these, because we're presenting mid-year measures and talking about end-of-year goals. These are now brought into alignment so that we have maximized the opportunity to be able to intervene ahead of it.
So these are the iReady targets we need to be hitting at mid-year in order to be on track. Okay. And then my second question is, in some of the math, it looked like the baseline average, and I'm sure there's an explanation for this, was different than the observed. Is there a reason why?
The baseline is the average of the prior performance. So in this case, for 4th grade, it's the 3 prior years.
Okay, as opposed to where we are in 2022-23,
Right.
which is just 1 year.
Exactly.
So the baseline's the average of the previous 3 years.
And I know it's been a long time since we first visited this, but that was one of the pieces of SOFG, was looking at a baseline average as a way to set the start point.
Because the one
Could be
data in
up.
time could be wrong
Exactly.
one way or another. Okay,
Exactly.
that's really helpful. Thank you.
Other questions? I have a couple questions. I struggle with these because it makes sense when you look at it like over time, year after year, and the steady increase. But when you follow a group of students through the charts, for example, if you are looking at graduation and we're saying that by the time this freshman class graduates, we want an 82.2% graduation rate. If you look at them in freshman year, they're at 69. Sophomore year, they're at 61. Junior year, then they're at 60. And then they have like almost an 18-point gain to get to the graduation rate that we have targeted for them at 82.2. And then reading, for another example, our current kindergartners, to meet their goals in 2026-27, which is 42.5, they start off at 36 this year. Next year, they don't have any gains. We're still projecting them at 36. Then they're going to make a 10-point jump in second grade at 42 or 46, and then drop because that's actually above the goal we had. So that, maybe I'm not interpreting your charts right, but when I follow, it makes sense when you're looking at it like this year after year, but when you actually are following a group of students through their experience, it seems like sometimes we're not having them gain or we're having them gain a lot. And even in that graduation rate, I mean, that's a huge jump from the junior year to the senior year to hit the target.
So if we can start with graduation rate, I think that's a nice start point for this. We definitely have a sophomore slump. So if you look at cohorts over time and track where kids come into as freshmen, we tend to see a pattern in our data where there's a decline through the sophomore year and then a ramp up through the junior and senior year. Currently, we close over a 23% percentage point gap in the senior year. The way this is set up, it actually closes that and reduces it substantially. So the gap between the junior and the senior is actually smaller over time. So we're actually closing that over time because we have, these comparisons actually go in two directions. We have looked at them cohort to cohort, but also cohort over time. This is part of why you see a big jump because, well, the 9th graders who came in last year are going to come into 10th grade in a different space. They're going into 11th grade in a different space. So there's some acceleration over time if you get kids on track in 9th grade. With our kindergarten, switching now to the kindergarten, the challenge we have with kindergarten is we're only talking about the first semester. Kids have come in consistently about 15%, 14, 15% reading at grade level in the middle of that year. What we're talking about is increasing the proportion of students who are meeting stretch growth. We're trying to close that gap. So that measure actually has two components to it. What proportion of kids are on grade level? That has been relatively consistent over time. I am hopeful that we'll see a little bit of a bump on that in that first semester over time, that we'll get a couple extra percentage points out of that. What we have seen is some acceleration of growth. That is the gap there. So when you get to second grade, again, we're looking at not just achievement, which has incrementally improved over time, but also that commitment to accelerating growth. Because for those students who are furthest behind, looking at just achievement doesn't help. We have to incentivize growth for them. So when we look at the OST in 3rd grade, we're looking at just achievement. So that number will be lower than a number that includes both growth and achievement. We really want to acknowledge the importance of growth. You heard about it here today. It's what helps students close gaps. It's what helps accelerate achievement over time. And that's why it's built into all these interim measures, because we do want to keep incentivizing our buildings to accelerate growth for our students.
So our interim measures, thank you, Dr. Brown, our interim measures are measuring growth. How much growth that each student is making each year, right? Because it's that growth that's going to show that each cohort is, we need each cohort to continue to make that steady progress, a year's worth of growth each year, so that each cohort is stronger. Again, in order for our students to excel in third grade, they have to make steady growth beginning in kindergarten, in first grade, and second grade. There's no OST for kindergarten, first, and second grade, so we're not, the latter, we're not using that same metric in the primary grades, K1 and 2. Similarly, the iReady assessment gives us a predictive idea or how our students are going to perform on the third grade reading assessment. And again, we need to make sure that our students, we can't just focus on achievement, we have to make sure that we're focusing on growth. For some students, that may mean they're already at proficiency level and they're growing. For some of our students, they may be behind 1 year and they're continuing to make growth. Or some students may be advanced, but they should continue to make growth. So we want all of our students to be continuing to make growth each year.
Well, so in the example I gave from this year, the 2023-24, the kindergartners are at 36, and then the next year they're at 36. Is there growth in that?
So again, we're looking at our kindergartners come in terms of proficiency, about 14 to 15% at grade level. Currently, in terms of OST performance, we basically double that rate. We go from 14% to 34.5%. The board's goal for the OST will triple it. We will go from 15 to almost 45%. It is a substantial acceleration of achievement and growth for our students. The growth that was observed last year for kindergarten was actually pretty ambitious. So again, what we're doing is anchoring to where we were and moving forward from that. There is an expectation that we will see some improvement in achievement as well as some improvement in growth. You can essentially see the delta there. There's some overlap there because some students both achieve and hit growth, but we also have many students who are meeting growth as the criteria here.
Okay. So, I mean, the interim, these are your own metrics. We just care that you are meeting the benchmarks that we have set for you. So you are saying that for graduation rate, a freshman right now who's at 69% will meet by their senior year our board goal that we have set for 82.2. You're confident in that by your metrics and the strategies that you're going to put forth.
Yes, and we're each cohort, the expectation is that each cohort is coming in stronger because of the interventions and the strategies.
That's not what your charts are showing.
I'm sorry?
That's not what your charts are showing. We can talk about it some more. Maybe I'm not understanding. Are there other board questions? Board Member Cole.
It's just a point of clarification for me. It sounds like based on how you made the case about how this data is grouped together over the years, over this 6-year term or 5-year term, that certain groups of students will be underperforming, certain groups of students will be at performance, and other groups of students will be beyond. And that's why we're focused on this paradigm of growth, right?
Growth, yes.
Okay. So then, do you all intend to disaggregate data for us to get a clearer picture of who actually is excelling? You guys kind of did that in the past with demographic groups, but is the narrative that you're going to constantly give us in the interim updates a look at the disaggregated groups of students who are at any given level of growth or lack thereof? Am I making sense? colleagues?
Yes, so as a part of our, right now we're again, aligning our interim goals to the board goals. And as a part of the monitoring process, we'll be reporting out on the interim goals. The interim goals ladder up to the board goals. So for each of these 3 goals, we'll be looking at how our students are performing in relationship to the targets, who's on track, who's not. Typically, when we provide those reports, we do break that out based on demographics and provide more information on the strategies as well as the interventions that are in place to make sure that we're keeping our eye on the goal, and we're making sure that we are providing the necessary supports to make sure that we stay on track.
Dr. Pierce.
So a lot of these interim goals are based upon the iReady diagnostic assessment. Multiple times, I think our board has raised some questions around this being the only diagnostic that is being used. Again, do you all feel comfortable with relying on this one assessment to be that diagnostic that determines whether or not our students are on target to be successful?
So we have consistently seen that iReady is a clear and solid predictor of OST performance. And internal research has shown that the individualized pathways actually help close gaps for our students. With our own student data, the kids who participate in those individualized pathways and do it with fidelity are more likely to hit stretch growth than those who do not. It is one of the best and most highly correlated assessments I've seen so far. And in short, yes, I think it is an excellent predictor for both reading and mathematics.
So if we keep that train of thought, and this being the best predictor of student growth and success, I want to return to Board President Adair's question, in which this data is showing us that if we group students based upon their cohort, and we follow them through all of these charts that you have given us, there's substantial slide that is happening at the end of a year or the beginning of a year, based upon where they fall. There's some slide. They're either learning really well one year or at one point, but then they're kind of behind at another point. So how is iReady helping us to determine when exactly that slide is happening and what we need to do to intervene during those critical periods where we see decreases in that achievement?
The interim goals include both growth and achievement. So when you see changes in the numbers, it could be a change in achievement or a change in growth. When we looked at this data, again, to create these, we looked at the changes over time within a cohort, as well as the changes from cohort to cohort. It's based on prior data that we set these targets. We know currently that kids who come into kindergarten are 15% proficient. By the end of 3rd grade, 34%. Incrementing up our expectations over time is a reasonable way to expect to see that change on 3rd grade.
Senator Cole.
Thank you. And this is not necessarily a question that you have to answer right now, but I think it's really important that at some time in the future, we need to answer this question. I really appreciated the one parent who came out and talked about instruction quality. She made a comment directly about quality of instruction in the classroom. How is this strategic plan that we've created with the goals and guardrails that we have collectively designed, how is this going to enhance the evaluation process? How is this going to strengthen teaching in the district? How are we leveraging iReady to strengthen teaching in the district? Is this something that specifically is a value add in the OTES, the Ohio Teacher Evaluation System? How is this improving, strengthening teaching instruction, classroom instruction in our schools? Again, not a question you have to answer right now, but I think it's really important that as we talk about collaboration, as we talk about how intensely supportive we are and aggressive we are about instruction, whether it's virtual or whether it's in the classroom, that we actually are about that business collectively together. And then we are able to say collectively together that this is the change that we intend to make from the classroom to the boardroom. Every argument, every lament, everything that was stated to us tonight was actually not directed to the Board of Education, these 7 august people at this table. It was actually directed to those who are in a school building. It was actually directed to those adults who are responsible for those in the school building. This was a summative lament, a summative complaint about teacher quality. I'm not saying our teachers are horrible. I'm not saying they're not doing a good job. What I am saying is now it's time to collectively do the work and be all hands on the way that we said we would. So I'd like to know in the future exactly how will this improve classroom instruction. I thank you.
Thank you. Other questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Dr. Pierce.
I would just like to request that while I think this data should be shared with the community, while we have questioned the data in some aspects and how we're getting to these goals that we have set, I think it will be more beneficial for the community to understand this report if the formatting is improved. So I would like to request that before very soon we correct a lot of these formatting issues so this presentation is easier to read.
Something happened between.
I don't know what happened,
yeah,
but can I say that it has given me a headache? I am thinking of all my individuals who might have visual impairments. The formatting of this is horrible.
Not going to
No ifs, ands, or but about it. We can do better. We expect better. So this formatting needs to be improved. And we should never again show anything like this in public.
Dr. Pierce, I just would like to note that the presentation, something happened with the formatting when it was converted to a PDF for the presentation tonight. So that is something that certainly we've noted, and we will certainly, I think it's the template that we use for the PowerPoint presentation, but that is certainly not something we previewed this presentation a few times before, and we did not see these types of formatting errors. So that is a technical issue that we will certainly work to address.
Thank you. Would you like to go on to your next report?
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Brown.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Our next report is an alignment to our board guardrail on aligning resources equitably. We have invited our colleagues from ERS, Dr. Angela King-Smith and Haley Brown, to provide us with an update on the design team work that's been going on, lots of conversations, lots of meetings, lots of collaboration within our district, again, to stand up and meet the board guardrail, aligning resources equitably. So I'll turn it over to Dr. King-Smith.
Good evening, Board President Adair, Vice President Vera, board members, and Superintendent Chapman. Thank you for the opportunity to share, to allow us to share regarding the work focused on aligning resources equitably. I'm Dr. Angela King-Smith, a partner with Education Resource Strategies, or ERS, and it is an honor to be with you this afternoon. For the last, today, I'm pleased to bring an update regarding this project and how we're working in collaboration with a cross-functional team of stakeholders to bring this work to fruition for staff and for students. Over the next few minutes, we will provide an update regarding the work that has taken place throughout each phase of the project, and as well as next steps. Here you can see we've outlined key focus areas for why this project and why now. You all have outlined these focus areas in your board guardrails, your strategic plan, and other key priorities. and you are focused on improving student achievement and educator experiences. A key part of that is aligning resources equitably to ensure and enable strong, equitable student outcomes and leveraging those resources as you move forward sustainably. We at ERS see ourselves as partners to work with you all. Just to share just a little bit about us, we are an education nonprofit located in Watertown, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. Our organization works with districts all around the country to ensure that they have the resources that they need to transform the experiences for students. When we say resources, we're talking about time, people, and money to shift structures, practices, and processes to improve those experiences for students. Our goal is really focusing on ensuring that all students, especially those with the greatest learning needs, have what they need to learn and thrive. Outlined on this slide is our project timeline. You'll see that we've broken it up into 4 different phases on this journey towards creating that more equitable school resourcing model. We believe that it needs to happen in stages, and it's very intentional. We want to be able to learn from each phase of our work. In phase 1, we've completed a current state assessment to really look closely at how those resources are used within Columbus City schools, both at the district and at the school level. In phase 2, which is where we're currently working right now, we are designing a resource model that can be used in schools to allocate roles and different positions to support the schools. We'll only be looking at a few select roles. In phase 3, we will review the pilot resourcing model that we will be doing this year, and we'll be looking to see how we can bring that to large scale across the system. And then finally, in phase 4, the goal is to roll it out, the new resourcing model, to all schools across Columbus City. At this time, I'd like to invite Ms. Bacon to come forward and share some of the details around the work that we've been doing in both phase 1 and phase 2. And then we will get into the details around some of the things that we are considering regarding the school resourcing pilot. Ms. Bacon.
So first, we want to give a summary of findings from the current state analysis from earlier this year, which is a reminder of what was shared at previous board retreats. We have the district-wide analysis, which aimed to answer the question, how does CCS invest its resources overall? We analyzed CCS expenditure data and compared it to other large urban districts across the nation and in the state of Ohio. We found that CCS spends a similar per pupil amount on instruction, but a lower proportion of overall dollars. This is driven by a proportionally higher spend on operations and maintenance, particularly facilities and maintenance and transportation, as well as proportionally more spend on pupil services, which includes things such as physical health and services, career and academic counseling, and social emotional supports. The school-level analysis aims to answer the question, what drives differences in spending across different schools in CCS? We found that school need is not a significant driver currently of differences in spending across schools within CCS. CCS currently provides some differentiation in spending for higher poverty schools, but this is almost entirely through Title I funding, which is not significant enough to provide significantly higher resources for those higher poverty schools. We also looked at the impact that school size has on the resources that schools receive. Our findings indicate that CCS has a large number of small schools. This represents a significant financial investment, and it can, in some cases, negatively impact students' equitable access to resources. For example, students at small schools can have less access to a breadth of course offerings and programming, and teachers can have less access to opportunities for teaming with other teachers. This slide shows the 5 characteristics of effective funding models from ERS's work with other school districts across the nation. And so the goal is that a school resourcing model would achieve all 5 of these characteristics. The model should provide the foundational resources that every school needs to meet the needs of its students. It should be need-driven so that students that need more or different resources receive those. It should be transparent and accessible so that everyone understands why each school receives what it receives. Schools should have the ability to organize resources in ways that meet the unique needs of their students and staff. And lastly, the model should be predictable and sustainable and aligned with CCS's longer-term financial outlook. And so to achieve the vision that I just laid out, the new school resourcing model needs to address these felt needs that we've heard throughout our stakeholder engagement. And I'll highlight just 2 of these here, the need-driven and transparent, since those are 2 of the big goals of this work. For need-driven, CCS does not yet have a shared definition of what we mean by student or school need. And so that has been a big piece of the work of this design phase. For transparent, many principals in the broader community do not currently understand why their schools get the resources, the positions, the funding that they get. And so that is another key goal of this work, to improve transparency and accessibility and build understanding through a clear set of rules for how positions are allocated to schools. In terms of what the school resourcing model in CCS looks like currently, in many cases, staffing levels at a school are rolled over from the prior year, and then adjustments are made based on enrollment changes. And CCS uses a traditional staffing-based formula where there are rules for why schools get the staff positions that they get. But as I said, in many cases, these rules aren't always transparent, and it does not, for most positions, currently incorporate a measure of student need. And so what CCS is moving toward is what is called a weighted staffing formula. And the key difference here is that there is a measure of school need that is used to distribute additional resources to those higher need schools. And this can take many different forms that you can see here on the right. So I'll just highlight one example of these tiered ratios where schools can be placed into high, medium, and low tiers based on their level of need, and then resources can be allocated according to that tier. And now I'll hand it back to Dr. King-Smith to talk through stakeholder engagement throughout this process and some more details on this design phase of the work.
So throughout this process, we've been engaging with stakeholders along the way. And so outlined here on this slide, you can see both the stakeholders that we engage with for phase 1 and the work that we've been doing in phase 2 and the things that we have planned for phase 3. Currently, we have a design team that we're working with that is comprised of folks from both the central office as well as schools, as well as union leadership. And it has really provided a wealth of information and input into this process in terms of designing the new resource model. You'll see here each makeup of the various stakeholders that we've been engaged with on the duration of this project, and there are more to come, but here you can see each of those teams and how they're comprised. And then in phase 2, we've been working very closely with the design team on various topics to design the resource model. And so here you can see for each of the months what we've been focused on. We've got one more month in which we'll be working with our design team on the school resourcing model, but they've been providing a wealth of information, feedback, and input as we've been outlining the model for the pilot. And we're excited because we know that you guys all are focused on providing information and accessibility to a lot of your processes and tools that are there. And so one thing that's coming out of the work that we're doing with Ms. Mosier is creating a 2-pager document that's really going to give the current state of resources that are provided to schools. And so this is coming soon. It is under development right now, but we're excited because we believe that it will provide the information in terms of the current, right now, what's happening in schools in terms of the resources that are going to schools. And we think it's going to provide, like I said, that accessibility and information to all stakeholders. So what's next? We are moving towards designing that pilot for this particular phase, and that will roll out soon. And so we are excited about that, and you'll see on the next slide our phase 3, our pilot. And this will, like I said, focus on a few select positions across all schools. And we will be learning from the pilot as we are rolling out this work, and that will help us in terms of phase 4 for the large-scale design across the system. And so we are excited about the work that we are doing with Columbus City Schools. And at this time, we will be happy to take any questions that you may have. This concludes our presentation.
Thank you. We will start with Dr. Pierce and then Board Member Cole.
So thank you all for this presentation. While I appreciate the model's focus on our district spending, there's a missing data point, a gap. And our community, I think, has spoken to this evening as well. That gap is, how do we begin to really start making gains in tangible equity? Another way to think about that is, how do we eliminate the predictive power of socioeconomic status on academic success? Within our district, the factors that impact academic success in many of our schools is the socioeconomic status of their neighborhood, their families, the communities that are supporting those schools. And so as I look at this presentation and I see you all say school needs, school size, you've said nothing of neighborhoods, you've said nothing of that socioeconomic predictive power impacting economic success. I would also like to see in the presentation, how are you all specifically defining stakeholders? Our community, again, has been very vocal about their presence, their want, their willingness to partner and collaborate with us. And within this presentation, stakeholders, again, has focused first phase on district level staff. But as we look throughout the phases, stakeholder is used very broadly and generically. Is there a plan to incorporate our students as stakeholders?
So first I'll speak to the first part of your question, Dr. Pierce. You talked about the socioeconomic factors and neighborhood. As a part of the ERS work, we are certainly looking at we're looking at our certification. So we're thinking about how do we measure and look at poverty level in our district, because currently, as a part of our past practice, schools are not resourced differently based on the poverty level. And so when we look, we need to be looking at who are we serving at each school and how are we serving them, in order to get to the equity issues that we're trying to address and mitigate against. When we look at neighborhood, recognizing that over half of our students do not attend a school within their neighborhood where they live, we have to look at the percentage of students who are attending the school the school of attendance. And so we're looking at one of the most significant factors and challenges that we're trying to address with this resource allocation model is poverty. Again, as you know, when we look at our schools, all of our schools do not look the same. Their demographics are different. We have 113 schools across the district. We have some schools with a poverty rate almost at 100%, and some schools where the poverty rate may be at 20%. Those schools get the same resources, with the exception of grant funds, like Title I funds. And so as a district, again, as a part of our board goals and guardrails, we have made a commitment to changing the way we allocate our resources. And this is the first step in getting us to look at how we allocate those resources and create a model that addresses those gaps.
I appreciate the response, Dr. Chapman, but again, as this presentation and the work is laid out, it is putting a lot of onus on our district spending. Again, we both understand that neighborhood and community are also impacting the resources that are available to the students that decide to go to a school outside of their neighborhood where there might be poverty. Understanding that as a district, we have to spend differently in those neighborhoods that have poverty. The question for this vendor then is, how do you at that school level analysis, like you said, capture how socioeconomic status is impacting economic success for those students who are opting open enrollment, lottery, to go to schools in other neighborhoods where there are athletic boosters, where there are band boosters. And so with that school level analysis, we need to be able to capture through community mapping, through whatever indicator you all are working on, how are we getting to tangible equity in our district?
So I think that is certainly aspirational for this work. Step one is to look at the resources that are within our locus of control, our school budgets, how we're allocating those resources. That is step one. We recognize that this process will be an iterative process where we will refine it, we will expand it, we can add to it, but we have to start somewhere. And so right now we're starting with how we allocate just our staffing, staff allocations. How do we make sure that we have the right types of positions? As Dr. King-Smith mentioned, our talent and our time, and certainly there is so much more to be done as we begin to look at equitable resource allocation and the resources and assets within our community and how that plays a part in serving and providing the supports and resources to our students. And I'll just take us back. The charge to this team, the charge to the administration was interim progress measure 3.1 of our guardrail, which specifically spoke to developing a measure of student need to inform an equitable-based budgeting process, which really speaks to how we budget in CCS. And so we can certainly expand upon that and continue to make additional adjustments to what we're looking for. But the first step was that guardrail was really to focus on our budgeting process. And so we're digging deeper into our finances to look at how we are budgeting for really school-based budgets. And there's another question that could be asked about how we allocate our resources for central office. So we're just starting with that narrow focus of looking at school-based budgets because that was the charge of the guardrail. And remember, this work doesn't happen overnight. We started this work over a year ago. And we're just providing an update on where the design team is in the process.
Board Member Cole.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this presentation. And thank you for, the work that's actually helping us progress forward to what I think is going to be that transformation that folks were asking for previously in the meeting. I think the thing that I just want to make sure that we're taking under very serious consideration as we move forward is how we will try to communicate with our community in the most plain way possible, in the most comprehensive way possible. I think it's critical for us not to miss the opportunity to speak to them in a way that they're really going to understand. And interestingly, especially through this plan, if we have more opportunity to get questions from them, to get feedback from them in the process, I think that can even strengthen our way in which we communicate with them plainly. So please, as we move forward with this, I think it's really critical we don't miss that opportunity.
Thank you. If I could just quickly address that, and I was remiss as I was trying to quickly cover the content. I just wanted to kind of go back to this slide regarding this two-pager. And this two-pager that's being planned is going to provide the information in terms of how schools are staffed now. And it is something that does not exist, from my understanding, or is easily accessible into a simple one back and front handout that allows anyone, staff, student, parent, to understand how certain staff are allocated in schools. This is being planned for the winter. And in addition to the release of this survey, the release of this one-pager is also a release of a survey to collect feedback from stakeholders. And when I say stakeholders, I'm talking about the general public in terms of this project, as well as that two-pager, to start to understand what are some of the key questions that stakeholders have.
I appreciate that. And Madam President, if I can just, will this be broken up on a region for region basis? So you heard it stated, you even said it yourself. You alluded very clearly to the idea that we are a diverse district. We are diverse in demography in many different ways, given area geography, any number of things. So is this going to be positioned in a way or communicated in a way on a region for region basis for that given community to understand their specific data and their specific need?
So, Board Member Cole, I think what we're getting at is how we make sure that we're addressing the needs of the students in the schools.
Yes, ma'am.
And respective to, we're serving a very diverse population. Each school looks differently. The staffing model, inherent in this model, what we're creating, is a model that will clearly communicate to our community how we're allocating resources based on the needs of the school. And so that may vary and certainly differ within a region, across regions, but it will be a district-wide commitment to how we allocate our resources to our schools based on need. And I hope that answers your question. It's not region-specific, it's a district-wide plan that honors the individual needs and demographics of each school.
No, I appreciate that. It's a 5,000-foot view. Okay. I guess my only concern moving forward, and I look forward to, a wise man said once, we shall see. I look forward, moving forward, to seeing how we answer the question. So say for a building, any one of them that may be understaffed in terms of teacher need, that may be understaffed in terms of counselor need, socio-emotional support, where will we get that information? How will that be distilled out of this process at some point moving forward? That's what I'd love to have clarity on.
Yes, so Jenny is grabbing the mic
because for a little bit. And I know Board Member Cole, you were at the FAC committee meeting when we discussed this, and I have approached President Adair and Vice President Vera about bringing it to the entire board in January. But what we anticipate that being is that we utilize the AlloView product that we are currently in phase 2 of. Phase 1 was a managed product that we provided for our building principals and our department staff to provide a more user-friendly, more digestible representation of accounting data that makes perfect sense to all of us accountants and math people in the world, but it doesn't necessarily translate for the academics and the teachers and the staff that need to understand and manage their budgets. The phase 2 that we're in Alloview is for replacing a very tedious, time-consuming process that we have to establish our budget for the coming school year, and we're right in the middle of that process now. The next step, which will start in July, and we'll be starting prep work for that in January, is Allocate, which will combine both the non-personnel piece of our budgeting and how that's managed, but it'll also incorporate this staffing plan that will be available. So part of how that will work is we will work with ERS and with Alloview to put that all together, and then to your point, a region, a school, whoever can go out and look on Alloview and see, hey, here's my school, and here's how we're staffed, and here's how our resources are allocated, and it will be in a much more user-friendly, digestible format. That is the path that we're taking, and that's part of why I think I've mentioned at FAC, I'm not sure whether I mentioned it with the entire board, myself, Eric, Terry, and Kristen in the budget office, we all went to Indianapolis City Schools because they already use the same ERP we do. They have already worked with ERS. They already have these 3 modules within Alloview in place. So we kind of went to see how it worked and see how the end product came out. And it all clicks together perfectly and makes things much more digestible, both for the building staff as well as for the community. So that's the next phase for our building staff. The phase sort of after that we haven't officially moved forward on, but that we're already starting discussions on, is an outward-facing piece that would incorporate. The nice thing about Alloview, it's very customizable. So we can create a view that's for a board member. We can create a view for a community member. We can create a view for whoever we need to create it for, and customize it in such a way that it provides the data in a way that's consumable and understandable for that particular audience. They're in the very early stages of that, so that's why we're trying to get in on the front end of that to help design it and make it look the way we think makes the most sense. But I think that's how we will get this information and get it out. And to your point, then it can be provided in a regional format or a school format to be able to help it digest. What the 2-page thing is more of a district-wide, this is how.
5,000 feet.
Correct.
Thank you. So I look forward to future discussions and presentations on that, and we shall see.
Yep, and I'll just want to add that, remember when the board established this guardrail to establish an equitable student-based funding model, that challenge, we are working to design the system to support that, right? And so we are looking at how we allocate our resources, how we communicate, how we allocate those resources, making sure that our systems, again, how we communicate that information from the treasurer's office so that everything is user-friendly and accessible, so that not only does the end user can see how those resources are allocated, but more importantly, they can see that the resources are being allocated in a more equitable way, instead of, everyone gets one of everything, every school gets one of each. That approach certainly leaves much to be desired when we're thinking about equity as the forefront.
Last question, and thank you so much for your patience, Madam Principal. Excuse me, Madam President.
Last question, board member.
Yes, ma'am. Our principals will still have autonomy, yes? They'll still have their budget. They'll still have autonomy of their budget.
They'll still have their budget, but we're allocating the resources based on student need, not necessarily autonomy. So, for example, our principals have said, based on the students that I serve, we need more resources. Mm-hmm. So it's more about matching the resources to the need of the students, not necessarily, which is certainly an ask of our school leaders, right? They want to make sure that they have the resources that they need to support the students that they serve.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Beckerly, and then back to Dr. Pierce.
I totally appreciate the value of this 2-pager because we have to know where. I totally appreciate the value of this 2-pager because we have to know where we are before we can figure out where we need to go. And that's important, and so I appreciate that for what it is. It's really what's happening now. And so then the next thing I wanted to say was, in the category of what's happening now, or, making sure we've collected a thorough snapshot, I notice under Phase 2 on slide 10, I believe it is, you list in Phase 1 everyone you've spoken with, and then you've got a plan to get further input through a survey.
Yes.
And I would recommend that we try to figure out how to have some face-to-face interactions with teachers, staff, instructional assistants, because I think that there's a wealth of knowledge from those people that you won't get through a survey, especially if they're not really motivated to answer it. And it seems like there's enough time in this design process that you could do some focus groups or something to say, what do you really need? When I was teaching a while back, I always used to think I needed 2 of me. How could I do this job effectively? I was like, well, if there was one here and one there, those are the conversations where I think you don't want to miss out on that in coming up with the pilot. So I would encourage that. And the last thing is picking up on what Board Member Cole just said, and picking up on some of what we're hearing in the community and at the comment tonight. I think this information, in terms of this process and where we are right now, we need to figure out how to get this to the community. And I don't know if, and we have to put some press events around it, like, Superintendent Chapman announced where we are in Phase 2 of the equity resource thing in response to the goal, the guardrail rather. And it might even be a video, like reverse the classroom sort of thing, where there's a video that explains all of this, kind of goes through these slides, and then come to a community gathering for question and answer, or something, but and some sort of an announcement so that we can say we're working on equity now, and we are working on budgeting, and we are doing, this is what we wanted to work on, and this is why we passed the levy. I mean, you can tie it back to that, but I think as much as this has been interesting and I appreciate seeing it, I feel like the audience needs to be the community and updates. All right, now we're at the pilot, now we're at this, now we're at that. So,
Dr. Pierce?
Very short, brief question. By Phase 4, school year 2025-26, can we expect to see for all of our school buildings a specific budget that tells how much that school is spending?
Yes. Yes. I mean, what we will be doing, we'll be providing the information for the budgets to be created, the rules, the processes, and we will be providing that to the district team to be able to put it into the Allovue tool to be able to produce the budgets. So we'll be working on the rules. We work on the rules and sort of the process, and then you'll have the technology. The district is working on implementing the technology to be able to enable that.
And the administration, collaboration with the treasurer's office, will be able to certainly deliver on that promise.
Excellent. We look forward to it.
Looks like there's no more questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we don't have a report from our auditor's office. We're going to move over to the treasurer's office. We're expecting no report, but do you have any announcements? You chatted with us already.
I'm sorry?
You already chatted with us a little bit.
I did chat a little bit, and that's about all I would have added. So nothing other than wish everybody a happy holidays. So.
Chair Cole, anything?
No, I just, thank you, Madam President. The Allovue piece that we actually discussed in the last committee meeting, I greatly appreciate it as being the presented resource that I think is going to work very effectively for us to, again, give us that kind of micro look on a building-for-building basis. From what I understand, our principals have given very positive feedback about it as well. The administration below our superintendent seem to be very encouraged by what this opportunity provides. So I look forward to this being presented to the body and you guys learning more about it. More importantly, again, I look forward to seeing how we are able to connect those future dots in collaboration with the administration and ERC, or ERS, I'm sorry, ERS. Thank you.
Thank you. I should have asked Chair Beckerly if she had anything for audit and accountability.
No, thank you.
And Mr. Brown, do you have anything for policy?
Policy Committee was unable to get to a quorum for our meeting this month, and as a result, we did not meet. There is a lot of work teed up for the committee in the future, and it's in good shape to move forward.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move into our consent agenda this evening. Our consent agenda, hold on a second. That doesn't look right. Consists of item 9.1 to items 24.5. Are there any items a board member would like to remove for separate consideration? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the
I
consent?
move to approve the consent agenda.
There's been a motion and a second. Are there any items a board member would like to discuss? Seeing none, please call the roll.
President Adair?
Yes, with the exception of 17.1, which I vote no on.
Ms. Beckerly?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes, with the exception of 12.1 as it relates to the contract with the Ohio State University, which I'm abstaining from. And then 18.1, which is related to personnel, which I am voting no on.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Vice President Vera?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Before we adjourn, I would like to take a point of privilege as your president, my last actually, since I am not seeking re-election by my colleagues to this seat for the next cycle. I want to thank all of my colleagues for allowing me to be your leader the past 4 years and for allowing me to try to use our voice to connect with the community and let them know what was going on with the district. We know that it is hard to be school board members, and these past 4 years have been extremely challenging for all of us. You know, in the face of COVID, in the face of attacks on public education, working through many labor negotiations and a strike, trying to ensure that we had goals and guardrails and a foundation and structure for our superintendent, trying to get the right leaders in the right seats. You know, it really has been an honor to lead you. And thank you for allowing me to do so. I will enjoy my time out of this chair, away from the gavel, in another seat at the table. And I look forward to letting the community be able to hear my voice as Jen Adair, board member, which is something I couldn't really do as your board president. And so maybe I'll be a little feisty, a little spicy, and maybe I won't have a gavel, but maybe I'll bang a shoe, metaphorically speaking, just to ensure that, you know, we are doing the things that we need to do to ensure that our students are put first. And that is why I serve. I serve fundamentally to ensure that we are improving our student outcomes because, as you know, I am a graduate, I am a mom, my mom is a teacher in this district, and being part of public education, I know, is about the strength and the core of our democracy. So I look forward to supporting the next leader who sits in this chair, and I ask all of you to please provide that person support because this job is not easy. The work of a school board is not easy. And just know that we all very much care about our students and our staff and our community, as we sit here every day and make these decisions. So thank you, colleagues, once again, for allowing me this opportunity. And with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Can we wait just a second, Madam President? I thank you. I really thank you for your patience this evening. I just wanted to just say a very quick couple of words. I thank you for your leadership. I appreciate the work that we all were able to accomplish together over time. And I want to say that as a lead-in to two of my brother and sister colleagues here who are going on to a new sunrise in greener pastures. Thank you, Eric, for your service. Thank you. Thank you for everything that you brought. There's a French word, esprit. Esprit, it means spirit, or it can mean mind, right? I thank you that maybe sometimes we weren't in the same space mindfully, but we were always in the same space in spirit. I thank you for that. This board got some things for you that we'll give to you after the meeting, but I thank you for your work. And I know your commitment to your wife and everybody else, so I want to thank them. Carol, thank you so much for what you've committed to us over the years in your spirit. I know how hard you worked to get here, and I know how hard you worked for us to progress forward. You were also a central part of helping us pass issue 11. I thank you for that work. Love you both dearly, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Cole.
If I could just make sure you all know, I'm not moving. I'm not going far. I'll be around. And don't be surprised if you're not doing the things the right way, if you see me at the podium, and I'll probably stay there until I'm gavelled out.
All right. There's been a motion and a second, and with that, we are adjourned.
All right.